So, good evening, and a formal welcome to this evening's Wellbeing at Home live event. And the usual big virtual hug to all our regular attendees. I say every week, every time we do it, that it's really heartwarming to see your names and faces, and the big welcome to those of you joining us for the first time. And I hope you enjoy the event and come back to others that we'll hold in the future. So I've been a bit busy over the last few weeks. I've had quite a busy travel schedule. And I was in Tenerife actually last week. I was invited to speak at a conference there, which was held by their government on how they can better promote and develop their wellness tourism offering, which I always find very refreshing. As you know, it's my subject. And I was very encouraged by that, because it seems a lot of destinations now are seeing that more people are looking for a healthy type holiday. So they want to showcase their destinations and show people just what they can do in terms of healthy pursuits when they're in their country or in their region or that kind of thing. And so I visited some of the places that we feature when I was there, and I also found some new options that we're working on. But if you're interested in getting some sunshine as we move into the winter, because it's such an easy place to get to and the weather's glorious, I would be happy to talk to you personally about any of the options you want to talk. You want more information on, because I've seen them recently. So happy to answer any questions you have about that. So the government has been very kind to the travel industry this week. We've been waiting for this for a long time, and they further opened up the world for people to travel. So now there are only 8 countries on the red list, which means that you can travel to pretty much anywhere in the world. That's if they will take us, but that's opening up too, without much fuss, and only one test when you get back if you're double vaccinated. So we have all the details at hand, and if you're thinking about traveling, just let us know. We can guide you through the process. And I can't tell you how much relief I have in not having to explain a complicated process. It was really complicated in the past. And it's a relief to try and get to back to some kind of normality in the travel industry. So yeah, it's made us, well, all of us in the team and in the whole industry very happy. Okay, so for today, we're going to forget about the rest of the world. And we're going to concentrate on an exciting new opening here in the UK. And Combe Grove will be opening its doors to our clients at the end of October. And I'm really very excited about this place. Those of you that read the email that I sent out, where I mentioned that I always felt there was a lack of really good kind of all year round holistic retreats in the UK. And I've been moaning about it for years. And I remember having a conversation with the team about this several months ago, and wishing that we could find somewhere in the UK that would offer the kind of thing that we felt like our clients would want. And Dominica, some of you know Dominica in my team, she said to me, "Stella, why don't you just put the intention out there?" So we had a little laugh, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to put the intention out there. And lo and behold, no joke, the next day, an email popped in from the team at Combe Grove. So I was very excited about that. And we started our conversations. And here we are today, several months later. And I would like to introduce you to Helen Aylward-Smith, who is the founder of Combe Grove, who we'll be chatting to throughout the event, and Sue Judge, the nutritional therapist there, who is also with us and will talk to us about the food there. As usual, if you have any questions, please type them in chat and we'll address them as we go along. And please, if you can, leave yourselves on mute in case you've got any background noise that will disturb the conversation and the event. So, Helen and Sue, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here. Helen, with your beautiful backdrop there, tell us where you are.
I'm in Dorset. I'm just practically on the beach in Dorset, and it's a beautiful, beautiful day and very blessed to be here.
Wonderful. Good. I'm pleased it's sunny over there. I'm in Cyprus. I guess most of the people who come regularly know I'm in Cyprus from my backdrop. So, but I think your view is nicer than mine right now. Sue, where are you? Are you in near Bath? Where are you?
Yes, I'm in Limpley Stoke, which is literally just 2 miles down the hill from Combe Grove. So
beautiful, beautiful, lovely, and that's a really lovely part of the UK. So our regular attendees always know that I like to find out a little bit more about the person behind the product. And Helen, I really want to talk to you about what inspired you to create Combe Grove. So I'm going to, ask you a few questions about yourself, so we can get to know you and what kind of made this happen for you. So firstly, what did you do before you started this project? What was your job?
My job, so I did 5 years at college, international marketing, business studies and languages. I went into engineering for 5 years, mechanical engineering, European perspective marketing, and then into storage products for 17 and so years, marketing in the UK, and had a ball in both cases. Really enjoyed industrial products and the fun of marketing, and had
industrial products. What are kind of? It's very different to the world that we're in.
I know I know it sounds strange, Stella, but whilst I was at college, I knew I didn't want to get out of bed to get people to eat Mars bars instead of Bounty bars. I knew that wasn't going to be, I didn't want to do that. And so I really liked products which were, purposeful. And so the first one was engineering, which was very purposeful. And the second one was storage, which was pretty purposeful.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I had no idea you were a mechanical engineer.
I'm not a mechanical engineer, but I did have 25 mechanical engineers in my team, and very strange that being my first role. I remember thinking, gosh, this is hard, because this was in the 80s and it was all a bit 80s. And I thought, well, you've got to join them. You have to go and do a night school in mechanical engineering. And the chappie who'd asked me to join him, the managing director, he said, I've got 25 of them. I don't need any more. No, you're not going to go and do that. So that was a big lesson, actually, that, I had to attach it from a different perspective and not become not be number 26.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm just can everybody mute, please, who isn't muted already? That would be great. So then what happened after this whole mechanical engineering, industrial products?
So the last role was approaching 20 years and was great fun. Rural economy in Gloucestershire, rapid growth in the business, and every day was great fun. We all loved it. Big team, I thought it was a big team, 150 people, and lots of youngsters and lots of people in those days who were YTSs. That was the thing at the time, YTSs. And although marketing is fascinating, and I was kind of born marketeer, I think it's just my thing. Fitting the youngsters into the right place and planting them and watching them grow was the bit that really I adored most. And it was clear to see that they just needed the growing conditions. They needed the challenge, the circumstance, the support, etc. And then poof, off they went like beanstalks. And that was the bit I loved. So having gone through the iterations of buying companies and selling companies and a management buyout and those sorts of things, and all the various iterations of company life, I could see that, yes, that could go on for another 30 years and, you know, pretty classic sort of pathway. Or I could try and polish the bits that were really in need of a bit more polishing and try and do something I didn't know anything about. And so the charitable model really appealed, really appealed, a bit of as a counterbalance to all of the business lifecycle stuff. Because there's an inertia, isn't there, from sole proprietor, partnership, limited, PLC. There's this sort of inertia thing that grabs you and takes you along. You get in the flow of that. But as a counterbalance, I love the idea of an incorporated charitable company within the charitable structure, because then of course you've got no shareholders, you've got no dividends, you're answerable to Company House, so you have all of those disciplines which you're used to, and you're also answerable to the Charity Commission. So it's much more onerous and just a bigger dimension, and it just seemed that's what I wanted to do. So
and it allows you to push forward with your vision and what you want to do rather than keep all the shareholders happy, I guess.
Yes, Stella, that's it. I mean, I was pretty autonomous before, but there is always a backdrop of how things are meant to be done. And we won lots of awards for growing, so that comes with even more autonomy because people don't stop you when you're on a roll, which is great. But when you're starting afresh with something that you're not really deeply, or don't appear to be really deeply experienced in, it's nice to have that structure wrapped around you.
Yeah. So you started the Elmhurst Foundation,
Yep.
which was a charitable structure, in 2008. Okay.
Yep.
What did the charity do?
So the purpose in the original, so we set up from scratch. It's quite a complex model because there's charities and then there's incorporated charitable companies. So putting the two together and one inside the other is a little bit more complicated. But that comes from, that's my background. I'm a businesswoman, and that's how I can operate that way. So that was right for me. And I wanted it to be official rather than a social enterprise, or, there's lots of things you have to collaborate within the whole charitable structure, which is a bit more onerous. But I like that because I think it's something worth having. It's something of worth to me. So the original objectives, which we stayed true to actually, the first one, they're not in order of priority, was to create apprenticeships and to help apprenticeships regain something of their former glory and their earlier status back to 60 years ago, when people even paid to have an apprenticeship because it was something recognized as being worthwhile and something that would enable you to earn your living throughout your life based on the quality of the training that would be shared with you. And having spent a lot of time on meditation retreats at this point, the whole teacher-student model was I could see a lot of strength in that. And in the 80s, well, when I set the charity up, there was still quite a bit of stigma around the sort of 50+ market, and people would say, oh, I'm too old, they won't want me. And I want to give them a good shake and say, what do you mean? You've got all this old is gold and golden nuggets to pass on. And so that was a bit of a thing through my business career. I used to think of it as breaking the lime scale on the kettle and sort of deliberately making it crack and fall away. And these ideas that had got stuck, like you're too old at 50 or you're too young at 20, or all of these kind of things, I used to think, we don't have to operate with these restrictions. So the model is based on masters or masters of their craft passing on their knowledge to their students, who generally are younger. And so the whole thing about apprenticeships was born, and it coincided with the government putting a really big push on apprenticeships and wanting to make it a viable choice to, for instance, a degree. And so spawned from that, there are now many, many, many degree apprenticeships and many people interested in degree apprenticeships. And so we have apprenticeships across the whole range of disciplines at Combe Grove, and that includes everything from horticulture to finance to everything in between.
And that's really to help the local youth, I guess, you know, as you say, learn and specialize in their craft and their trade by learning from people who are experienced and have those golden nuggets, as you say. And that's is that the main reason you're doing that at Combe Grove?
It's a little bit edgy. Is a little bit coming from feeling that we've tried to push too many people to university, and that makes them end up with a large amount of debt. I mean, I don't know how many universities we got now, but I think we got up to 200, and I think we were trying to get 50% of people to go, and then of course they end up with these large debts. And is it really helpful? And I just know that another way of learning dynamically is on the job and getting the experience, and you can end up in a really good place after the same amount of time without that debt. And so the challenge of apprenticeships is that businesses weren't stepping forward and offering the experience. They weren't stepping forward and offering the learning part. The government was getting ready, the colleges were getting ready, but businesses were reluctant. And so I wanted to shake that a little bit, because when we sit and look at the opportunities we've been able to take advantage of in our life, we sometimes don't realize quite how many there are. And usually when we look back and we see this sort of golden thread of connectivity that we might have not focused on, but is always there, it was just really important to me to create the opportunity for these apprentices to do their learning. And that needed the business model that could hold as many as possible. And our plan is 90. We planned, we will create 90 apprenticeships, and that takes 5 years to get full up, and then 30 leave and 30 start. So 30 in, 30 out, and you move then with this constant tribe of 90 apprentices. Right.
Well, I've got to say, I've had conversations, I'll share with the audience here, with you about the apprentices you have at Combe Grove, and the ones that I've been exposed to, I've been so impressed with. I couldn't actually believe that you're apprentices, and you've reshaped my view of apprentices, because I did have, through some experiences myself, some bad experiences with that kind of, I guess it wasn't apprenticeships, it was more internships and stuff like that. But it was, you know, I think a lot of people have a view of apprentices about young people who just can't be bothered to work and just show up and you know, just want to do the minimum amount of work, which is not true, certainly with your team. So whatever you're doing it right, and you've encouraged me very much so to look at that within my business in the future. So thank you for that. Now, so what else does the Elmhurst
charity? Yep. So that was the first objective, and that's really on its way now. If I disappeared tomorrow, that one's going to be delivered without any difficulties. And the second one is to develop our understanding of wellness and well-being in a way that's helpful to community. So in a way that can coexist with the National Health Service, so that can express itself in a way that can be absorbed by doctors, if I can put it that way. Because whilst the whole naturopathic, holistic, complementary, alternative, whatever word gets used, is evolving very rapidly, and that's brilliant, sometimes it evolves in a way that excludes it from being mainstream. And I could see that I mean, in simplistic terms for me, I could see that perhaps if marketing carries on as powerful as it is, which it will, the health service could almost kind of implode under the weight of what's being delivered by the results of marketing. Being a marketeer, I kind of feel a bit involved in that, and wanted to counterbalance what happens when we market food to our nation and the way we do it. And so we're specifically interested in all things which empower people, meditation perhaps being one of them, all things and all understanding that help you not be determined by the subliminal marketing. And that sort of evolved into food in the broadest sense. And then a big leap forward into the sort of simple elegance of just not eating for a bit and fasting.
And where did you start? Where did you have your own first exposure to fasting?
On the meditation retreats, which I did for years and years and years, they were generally 2-3 weeks, and that would start to touch on sort of not eating after lunchtime and only eating very lightly, and just being outside of the 3 times a day kind of pattern that is our standard. And then it progressed from there, and I went on my first proper fast, signed up for 10 days and extended it to 14 and extended it to 21. And so that's just embedded my interest, my experience, my understanding, and enabled us to springboard from there.
Okay, wonderful. So how about sustainability? Is that part of it?
Yeah, it's not a stated objective in the public domain, but it's just a given. It's just a given, because we've become guardians of 70 acres. And many of the people involved have said, I've never seen so many layers of restrictions, because we're in an area of outstanding natural beauty. We're in the green belt. We've got sites of scientific interest. We've got ancient woodland, and all of these come in with all of their relevant controls, which is a great thing, because we've got lots of beautiful bats and badgers, and that's all very special. But we're guardians of the 70 acres. And so we take the quality of the soil and the state of the trees and the nobleness of the trees, because we've got lots of woodland. And yeah, so there's a wonderful journey going on, which is now we've got our own food ready. That's all been done. And so we eat food that's grown organically with no dig at Combe Grove, and it just makes us smile that we're so fortunate to have our own food. But that's all part of the low miles, and it's all part of the how do you get nutrition into the body.
Yeah,
because we've been a bit romanced, haven't we, with sort of an organic carrot, let's say. But between it coming out of the ground and getting into your body, all sorts of things can happen, which can kind of diminish its qualities. So you've got to understand a little bit more than just growing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of our endeavours.
That's wonderful. So have we covered all the objectives of the Elmhurst Foundation? So one was the apprenticeships, the other one was the food, well, the wellness.
Yep, there's a third one, Stella, which is
Yeah.
sharing what we have come to learn and what we have with our community locally.
Okay.
So in a sense, if you were looking at the charity, you would think of it as educational. In that sense, education is a primary charitable purpose. But the third part is sharing that locally. So back to the structure, what we generate, we get to keep. So imagine that we provide the food for the local children's nursery, or send yoga teachers 3 hours to the local charity that deals with dementia, and they focus on yoga for memory loss. So once we get the first two properly spinning, then we will move into the third one, and be a bit more helpful in our local community. But we've got to grow up to that. We've got to have a little bit more to offer to grow up to that wish.
Right, and then be able to push that out into the community.
Yeah.
I don't think it will take you long. So
Hope not. Hope not.
I don't think it will take you too long. So that's really interesting. So you established this foundation quite a while ago.
Yep.
And then how did Combe Grove kind of fit into that? Because Combe Grove was running as a regular hotel, right?
Yep.
Until just very recently, until 2020, until this year, right?
Yep.
Last year. And then you literally shut it down.
Yep. And so enough is enough already.
Yeah, enough is enough. And then relaunched it and put it together to be to fit in with your objectives of the foundation.
Yeah. So it took us a long time to find Combe Grove, a long time. Okay. We knew that we needed an estate that could accommodate all of the listed buildings and the land and the horticulture and the arborology, because that's a whole range of apprenticeships. We knew we needed the business disciplines, marketing, finance, etc. And we also needed cooking, therapies, sports coaching, to be able to get this broad range. So when you think through that, what kind of property is it going to be? It could be a hotel, it could be an old care home that closed down, it could be an old school that had closed down. So looking, and eventually we found Combe Grove, and it was a hotel. We didn't specifically want to buy a hotel, but the location is what's terribly important. And so we decided that we would run it to gain experience in the logistics of having 80 people staying and feeding and so on and so forth. And then we shut it down, regathered, and now we're getting ready.
Yeah, Helen's been very clear to me about stating that this is not a luxury country house in Bath, because it's outside. It's about 3 miles outside of Bath. I have been to visit it. It is stunning. It's in a stunning location overlooking the valley, and I went for a day. They weren't ready yet, otherwise I would have just stayed, to be honest, for a few days, because it was so peaceful. But you're very clear that this is not a hotel with a spa. This isn't a country house, a beautiful luxury country house, that this is a proper wellness retreat, right? So
that's really important to me.
That's really important to you. So have you always wanted to do this? Have you always wanted to create something like this? I mean, how long have you had this picture in your mind?
Probably approaching 20 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
If you're a businesswoman and you get to the point where you want to really want to contribute, that's all you can contribute, really. You know, if you're a doctor, you can do all sorts of things. Or if you're a dentist, but if you're a businesswoman, then this is the kind of thing you can do.
Yeah. But it took you 20 years really to formulate the plan and put it all together and find the place and create the offering, which is wonderful. Have you always been interested in meditation? I'm flipping a little bit off the subject. I'm just interested. Do you have?
Pretty much.
And and why? Is it because it helped you as a tool to deal with your very demanding jobs?
Yes, because it helped me in so many ways, Stella. But yes, it's a great. It's kind of more than a tool, I think, for me. It's a sort of, it's a philosophy. Let's put it that way. It's not just a technique. It's a philosophy for me, and that's where we have to have this counterbalance with this beautiful Georgian manor house in Bath, which has got its own magnetism, because Bath has got its own magnetism as a World Heritage City, and Georgian manor houses and country house estates have got their own magnet, but that's usually attached with luxury, indulgence, spoil yourself, and that isn't how I think we let go. That isn't how I think we peel the onion, and because that sense of indulging, the more money equals the more indulgence, it isn't a good place to start, in my view, on the journey of wellness.
Here. I totally agree. I totally agree.
It's a well-trodden path. I mean, there's a lot of verbiage about spoil yourself and spoil yourself and spoil yourself some more. But, I don't think it's helpful to be sat in the tub with a champagne bucket within arm's reach.
With a glass of champagne. I think it's more focus on yourself, isn't it? It's more focus on yourself to get yourself to a place of balance. And that's really what I think you're doing there. So if we talk about, I want to just go back to the Woodland Estate, that's you said, I thought it was 64 acres, but you're saying 70. I mean, it's a lot of land. It's a lot of land. So you have to actually look after that land. But how does that fit into the whole concept at Combe Grove? So how will the guests experience that land? How will that fit into the experience, so to speak?
So there's two ways that we like to share all of the land. One is with the whole getting nutrition into the body journey. So being with the chickens, being with the vegetables, planting them, digging them up, etc., etc. And the other one is being with wild nature. So the first bit is what does the earth do for us, and the other bit is what does the earth do for itself, whether we're there or not, and understanding that we're not the most important things. And because so we've got a little map, for instance, of the oldest noble trees in the native forest, and so you can just go and be with these trees. And we have an arborologist, and he will explain how old it is, which creatures live in the oak tree, which creatures live in the beech tree, what the life cycle of the particular tree is, and how they communicate, and just the nobleness of the trees and everything that comes with trees. Trees support an awful lot of what is, trees essentially create soil, and without soil we haven't got any food. So it's pretty fundamental, whether we realize it or not. So there's lots of opportunity to get out in the woodland and walk in the woodland, barefoot, not barefoot, in the rain, not in the rain. We just love people to be out there.
Okay, so it's an integral part of the experience.
Yes.
And I mean, just the views alone you absorb it, you know, just being there, you absorb the whole elements, you know,
Yep.
the element of nature.
Yep.
You really feel it when you're there. But if you can actually get into it, and what did you call him, an arborologist?
Arborologist.
That's a new word for me. I don't know what that is. Is a tree specialist?
Yeah, so he's done his apprenticeship. Yeah, it means tree specialist. So
Okay.
So they become qualified in how to keep trees healthy, essentially.
Okay, very interesting. So let's go back to the nutrition, because I did see the kitchen garden, which was very impressive.
It's
very impressive. Yeah. Tell us a bit more about that. What are you growing there? How big is that team? I met the
land manager.
The land manager, yes, it's a great title. And he was, you know, he was very worried about it all, because I think he you know, it's his baby. He was, you know, he felt very responsible for everything. But so passionate, and the team I met, you know, working on the land, that were very passionate. But tell us a little bit more.
So he's just starting off with we were thrilled because there's lots and lots of facilities at Combe Grove, and one of them was a golf driving range, and there were already 2 or 3 of those in Bath. So and you know, people were being paid to mow it with fossil fuels and, you know, stick all sorts of things on it, etc. So we just decided that we weren't going to have a golf driving range anymore, and we were going to convert it into our food production area, into our kitchen garden. So it was all prepared, and he started off with what he felt would be the right things, and then now Sue's with us. She'll be informing next year's planting, so that we've got everything that we need for juicing and food, and because we're following low carbohydrates, so I guess he'll be planting a few fewer potatoes and a few more other things.
So Sue, it's a good time to bring you in at this point, I think, because it sounds to me like you're going to be the boss there to tell them exactly what they need to grow. Is that the case, or is it a collaborative affair?
Very much collaborative. We're all a team. We all have our different strengths, but we're very much pulled together. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about how the menus have been put together. You know, Helen mentioned it'll be a more of a low carb type menu. Tell us what the angle is there.
So because we want to come at it, like Helen said, from a more nutritional point of view, supporting the NHS, you know, supporting people's health. And so education is really key to that. And certainly pushing people more towards a low carbohydrate diet. I always struggle with the word diet, because I think people feel deprived as soon as they hear that word, but it's a way of eating. And I think, touching on a comment that Helen said earlier about that the way we marketed food and what to eat and what's good for us, you know, it is very much getting back to real food and seasonal food. And we're really lucky that, I mean, we've been up with the team up in the vegetable garden, and I didn't really understand the whole no-dig concept, and it was really interesting to be shown that. But things that we've had,
I don't know what that is, no-dig.
So I don't know if I'll do him justice here, but instead of digging over your garden, and it was a golf driving range, so obviously the grass, it was very particular grass, it was very good quality. Instead of digging that up like we might do if we were starting a veggie patch at home, they layered it with things like cardboard and then a mulch on top, and have allowed the worms and everything to do the work. So it's a much more environmentally friendly. It keeps the soil much healthier because you've got those different layers. And and then they've planted it with certain vegetables that are going to add to that even more. So obviously root vegetables, things like carrots. I mean, they're extraordinary. The ones that were coming out were like this, perfectly straight. And you think, well, how can that happen when it hasn't been dug through? But it's all about the integrity of the earth as well as what we're growing in it. So this year we've had beans, carrots, beetroot, tomatoes, aubergines, peppers, garlic, courgettes. I mean, so many different things. And, you know, it wasn't the best spring here in the UK for growing things. So that brought other challenges. Whereas last year, which was the first year that it was planted up, was fantastic. So it's learning and being adaptable, really, which I also think is one of the things that makes us more sustainable and more resilient, the more adaptable we can be. So we try and bring and utilize as many of those fruits and vegetables that we've got from the estate into our menus, and offer people a really fantastic opportunity to eat real food, seasonal food, and sometimes with a slightly different twist to it. So make food enjoyable as well, I think is really important.
Is the menu vegan, vegetarian? Do you include protein? What's the...
Yeah, so we're completely omnivore. So we have all food groups.
Okay.
But what I would say is our focus is on vegetables, you know, and this is also because the typical Western diet, we put far too much value on those cheap, highly refined carbohydrates that in my eyes are just fillers, and too much animal products. And we're about quality of products. So we want less meat, less of those animal products, but really beautiful quality. And we want to put more emphasis on the vegetables. And it gives us a slightly different portion size or representation. If we were looking at, you know, maybe like the healthy eating plate, we've got a bigger amount of vegetables on there. Yeah.
And the sorry, I forgot what I was going to ask. I was going to ask
the menu.
No, about the menu. No, but I was going to say, yes, all the ingredients are locally sourced, right? Yeah. Or do you? Helen and I had a conversation about spices. Helen was just trying to be so true to her objectives here, which is like, well, but certain spices have to be imported. And I thought, well, yes, but that's just a tiny part of what you're using overall. But that's your main.
We're designing. We haven't finished it yet because it's quite tricky to do. But basically, the miles have to be as low as possible. So importing is essentially out. It has to be southwest. It has to be Somerset, if not southwest, if not England. So importing outside of the UK is basically out. But if it has to be for example, cinnamon, perhaps a bad example, but let's take cinnamon, then we just have to know the weight of what we're importing. Obviously, it has to come from an organic fair trade source. And then we get the weight of everything that we've imported, and then we offset it at the end of the year. What we haven't finalized is what our offset program is going to be. It might be something that we collaborate over, or it might be something that we do internally and plant more trees in the woodland. But it will be a conscious, the amount that the weight of what we import and the miles will be measured.
Okay.
And minimized.
So much integrity there, honestly. So I know many places talk about this, but you're very serious about it. You're
very, very serious.
And I know you're going to stick to it. So that's incredible. Now, I want to also touch on this other very strict rule that you have, which is no alcohol and no smoking. So what drove that? Well, I know what drives that, but we've had conversations about absolutely nothing, because there are a lot of health retreats around the world who do offer a glass of organic wine in the evening, for example. So talk to us about that.
So the smoking, I guess, is a bit straightforward. When we bought the business, out of 120 people, we probably had 35 smokers, and there would be huddles of people with plumes of smoke coming out of them. And it's just not great when you've got so many sports facilities. I mean, we've got really fabulous facilities, and it's just not great on any level. So that had to stop. And that's been a journey, because it's a bit like, pressing on mercury. You say no smoking on the estate, so they all huddle at the gate, and then, you have to deal. Anyway, I think we have now one person, and they are avidly exploring how they can stop. I think it's just one now, a very valued person. So we're helping them in every way we can. So with alcohol, we took that decision probably about a year ago, for a whole host of reasons. It's difficult to be on a scale, because what you or I might consider to be reasonable practice, everybody's idea of reasonable is different. Everybody's idea of quality of alcohol is different. Everybody's idea of the purpose of consuming alcohol is different. And whilst we don't want to be evangelizing, that's not our thing. We want broad open doors. Alcohol is just the thing which was a bit tricky, because it can so easily tip over. All of the retreats I've done have been, caffeine free, let alone alcohol free. Not even with black tea. So it was quite an easy thing for me to settle there, because it's also terribly hard to manage a sort of mixed economy, that, if you've got a corridor of 9 people in 9 rooms, and 3 of them are all together in a group enjoying a couple of bottles of champagne is usually the indulgent thing. It's not long before they can be making a little bit more noise than the other people in the corridor would appreciate. So we just felt that let's draw a line and let's say we'll be alcohol free.
Yeah. And I think that can help people reframe that actually you can have a good time without drinking alcohol. It doesn't, we as a nation, culturally, we equate one with the other, and that's, there are so many other cultures around the world where that isn't necessary to have fun. So I think it's bold, it's a great move on your part, and you're being really clear and upfront with it. So I just wanted to touch on that. Okay, so
if you're focusing on raising your consciousness, your awareness, your happiness, it's quite challenging to develop your own sense of awareness and consciousness whilst you are drinking.
Absolutely agree.
It's easier to make some of those progressions whilst you're not drinking. And so just whilst you're with us, if you can join us in being sober, and I mean that in the sort of new sense of the word, then I just think it's really helpful for everybody. Because you got another 52, 51 weeks of the year when you can have as much as you like, but whilst we're together trying to do what we're trying to do, I think that's the most helpful way of doing it.
And it's actually, it helps us, because we do have requests of people who say, I want to go somewhere with no alcohol, and we don't have anywhere to send them. So thank you. You've created it for us. So it's certainly in the UK we don't have anywhere to send them, so it's very helpful for us. So The other question that I have is, what kind of activities will people partake in? I know Amanda put that there, what kind of classes? And because I know we've got the fitness side, but there's a whole load of other things that you're going to be doing too.
Yeah.
But if we can touch on those, that would be great.
So we deal with the physical and the movement. So we've got tennis courts, a beautiful gym, two fantastic studios, and two beautiful swimming pools, one indoors, one outdoors. So the physical is going on all the time. You can do things in the swimming pool, you can meet the tennis coach, you can have an individual spin class, you can have an individual yoga class, there's a whole range, the whole gambit of the physical.
But you have group classes. I saw those. So you have your fitness classes and your spin classes and your yoga classes and all of those, right?
Yeah, there's group classes, mixed abilities, and individuals. So and then you have choice on the physical level.
And then you've got the outdoor and the indoor tennis courts.
Yep.
I love that outdoor pool.
Yeah, it's very popular.
It's very cool. Is that heated?
Yep.
Okay, even better. So you can go into that in the winter as well. Beautiful. Okay.
So then there's all of the kind of engaging with outdoor stuff. So going up and helping them do things in horticulture, going into the woodland, badger watching, bat watching, just really engaging with the estate on a nature level. And then there's series of talks and demonstrations and just interesting, stimulating, trigger events, and then there'll be other classes like language classes, origami, meditation, things which are more contemplative, internally, inward. So there's a mixture for everybody. Everybody's next step is a different one, and we all sit down with our own personal set of baggage, and it's different things which trigger the release of those. Oops.
Sorry. Yes, I'm muted for a second there. Right. So we have a question. Is Pilates available? I think it is. Yes. I think I've seen that on the on that. Oh, there's another comment in here. Myself and my daughter who has Down syndrome are just about to become members. I can't wait to immerse ourselves in such a beautiful health promoting environment. How wonderful.
Wow. Fabulous.
Beautiful comment.
I forgot to mention the therapies and the practitioners, Stella. Shall I just quickly?
Yes, let's talk about them too. Yes.
So we've got a whole series of therapy and practice rooms, and the therapies are what I call fundamental body therapy. So there's nothing that gets you off into deeply fluffy towel mode. It's all mainstream fundamental body treatments, and we are putting together and have made good progress a whole family of 12 practitioners. So they will be covering reflexology, acupuncture, craniosacral therapy. Sue, you might have to help me with these because I haven't got the list in front of me.
It's fine. We don't. Yeah, it's okay. It's all on our website, so don't worry. Okay. We don't have to list them all off. It's all it's all on the website. But they're therapeutic treatments. They're therapeutic treatments.
And these are expert in their field who have generally 30 years experience. Many of them have lectured, written books, and highly experienced, and that's a real pleasure for me because it's quite special to be able to come to a place where you can mix this level of quality of practice and practitioners with resting. I mean, usually if you want to go and have acupuncture, you've got to get in the car, find a car parking space, get through the rain, arrive, get all your wet clothes off, settle, have your treatment, and then do it all in reverse to get home. So it's really important to me that we offer these practices at Combe Grove and that they are part of the stay.
Yeah, beautiful. No, I think you know, this leads on nicely to what I was going to say next, that from the end of October, you've created some 3 or 4 day retreats. We're calling them retreats. They're, you know, packages arriving on certain days for our customers.
Yeah.
So it's, and they include all of these activities, some of these treatments, the food. They're very well-rounded wellness retreats. I know you're very passionate about the fasting stays, which you're going to introduce in January, but we can talk about that on another session, and we can actually go into the therapeutics of the fasting and how that helps people with their health, you know, seriously with health conditions and their health. But I think for today, we've got a really good picture of this gem that you've created, and thank you for doing that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people here who will thank you at some point when they come to visit, also for creating that, because it doesn't currently exist in the UK, and we're very excited about it. And I also wanted to ask one quick question, because I did say I was going to play the video with no sound, but it's okay, you can get a view of the video as we finish off. We'll play it, you know, as we finish off, so people can actually see and get a feel for the place.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I wanted to just touch on some retreats that have been put together for the new year, because we do get lots of people who want to bring in the new year in a more healthy environment, not in a, you know, in a place where they overindulge. And we also have a Christmas retreat, and it's interesting because we have this, you know, these times of year that we associate with overindulging, and but you're doing something different there. So tell us, how will you do that, but also bring an element of fun in?
So there are so many things on there that people are just dying to learn about. We've got a couple that we work with called Dartmoor Skies, and they bring telescopes and look up to the skies and tell us all about what we can see through the telescope. So be able to do that with a little fire pit. Also a wonderful author who's written all about the clouds and identifying the clouds. There'll all be events which are bringing the outdoors in and just understanding more of nature.
Really mindful activities.
Yeah.
Like, as you say, it brings the outdoor in. It's beautiful. I love that way, the way you've described that.
Yeah.
So I have to say thank you so much for being here with us this evening and sharing your vision that you have actually, you know, created, and it's live now, it's there, and we're very excited about it. And Sue, thank you also for coming along and talking a little bit about the food and nutrition and the kitchen garden. And I've certainly learned lots of new things today. So yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for coming along and you know, hearing about the wonderful Combe Grove. And it's available, it's up on our website. You can actually book it online if you want to, but you can also, you know, call us as you know, and you can speak to us about the details around that if you wanted to go along. Oh, hang on, there's a couple of questions here. Oh no, this is another there's a direct message, so that's okay. So it's been a pleasure, Helen and Sue, thank you. And I'm going to play the video out, so bear with me a second.
Stella, before you put the video on, may I thank you for being on this journey with us?
Oh, that's lovely.
Thank you.
I'm very honoured. I'm very honoured to be your partner with this. So we're looking forward to helping Combe Grove flourish and be a wonderful place to change people's lives here in the UK. Well, they're in the UK because I'm not in the UK. I'm there in the UK. Yeah.
Brilliant.
In spirit, I'm in the UK, so they're in the UK. So very excited
for today. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'll play this out. Everybody have a wonderful week ahead. Lovely to see you all. And I will be in touch during the week about the next session. And here we go. We're going to play out Combe Grove. And bear with me a second while I manage my technical difficulties. Sorry. I always struggle with these. I'll share this, share screen.
There we go.
Okay, so you can get a little feel for this. There's a kitchen garden. That's a lovely young man. What's his name? I forgot his name. Yeah. And this, oh, we didn't talk about this. This the gym equipment generates power.
Puts it back into the grid.
Yeah. Lovely yoga room. The carrots.
So rescue chickens.
Rescue chickens. I love it. And these are the rooms. They're just newly refurbished. They're lovely. It's the indoor pool. And the valley, that spectacular view. Oh, and now I'll stop sharing. Wonderful.
Brilliant.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful week ahead. Take care.
Thank you, Stella.
Bye.